أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد انتجبه لولايته واختصه برسالته وأكرمه بالنبوة وأشهد أن عليا ولي الله وأمينه في أرضه وحجته على عباده اللهم صل وسلم على محمد وآله الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين وفقنا الله وإياكم بعلم وعمل صالح إن شاء الله أوصيكم عباد الله وإياي بتقوى الله. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I take the opportunity to remind myself the importance of adhering to the principles and the disciplines of taqwa. You find that the essence of fasting that has been prescribed and made wajib in the month of Ramadan, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُم. Not just for our ummah or the ummah of Rasulullah, but even the ummah that have come before him. Amongst all of the different prophets, fasting was prescribed for them as well. And the purpose of this fasting, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that we are able to adhere and develop taqwa within our lives. Taqwa is an element that has been produced, or has been mentioned throughout the Holy Quran. Many a times in many different verses, Allah begins to speak about the qualities of the muttaqeen. One of the qualities of the muttaqeen is that they struggle, they endeavor to seek closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether they are standing, sitting, lying down, whether they are resting in public, in private, they are constantly remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Beyond this, they adhere to the truth. They understand the truth, they recognize it, they submit to it, they accept it. وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. And of course, the establishment of truth is that which has been presented by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We are now entering the final days or the final third of the month of Ramadan, the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. And we have worked from the time of Rajab until now for this particular week, that is the coming week inshallah, which are the nights of Qadr, Laylatul Qadr. And you find that the profundity of this night has been mentioned in the Quran. The entire surah, Surah Al-Qadr, the entire surah has been revealed in reverence to this particular night. Surah Al-Qadr demonstrates the profundity of the night of Qadr, the night in which the Quran was revealed. Just the first opening verse, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately introduces the night of Qadr with a lot of emphasis, a lot of magnificent information is being provided by Rabbil Alameen. He's saying, number one, inna. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to himself as a plural royalty. He bigs himself up. He demonstrates his power and his exaltation. He's saying, inna anzalnahu. Indeed, we have revealed in the night of power. Number two, it signifies the Quran. Inna anzalnahu. Allah doesn't say, inna anzalna al-Quran. He says, Inna anzalnahu, we have revealed it. This it goes back to the Holy Quran. Meaning that whosoever reads this Quran, this particular chapter, specifically, the first thing that comes into their mind is that Allah is speaking about the Quran. Without even speaking or mentioning the name of the Quran, automatically the verse is referring to the Quran itself. It shows the signification of the book itself. That whosoever reads this chapter, the first thing automatically that comes into their mind is that Allah is speaking about the Quran. And of course, and then he says, fi Laylatul Qadr. He says, in the night of power we have revealed the Quran. The night of power, the night of decree, there's no equivalent to it throughout the entire year. And you find that when you refer to the riwayat of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, they explain very explicitly that the entire Quran was revealed to the Holy Prophet. Now the Quran wasn't revealed in tablets, or it wasn't revealed on paper, but it was rather revealed into the heart of the Holy Prophet. That the Holy Prophet on the night of Qadr had access to every single verse, every single word of the Holy Quran. But the permission was not given to him to relay that information to the public. No, the Quran had to be revealed gradually over 23 years, but the Prophet had access to the information of the Quran before the verses were revealed. According to some narrations, it's mentioned that when the Quran was revealed on the night of Qadr, it was revealed from Lawh al-Mahfuz, the guarded tablet, onto Bayt al-Ma'mur, and the Prophet had access. The Prophet, through his heart, had access to Bayt al-Ma'mur. But of course, bearing in mind that the permission, he did not have the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reveal the remaining verses of the Holy Quran until an incident took place, and then Jibreel ordered him to reveal certain verses of the Holy Quran. When we refer to the word Al-Qadr, now here the scholars, the Mufassirin, have come and explained different meanings to the word Al-Qadr. Al-Qadr literally means something that has been decreed, something that has been ascertained and determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a measure has been determined, you would refer to that as Al-Qadr. And every single thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in this universe has been created with a specific measurement. In fact, this is how we distinguish ourselves within this community. There are some who have knowledge, there are some who have certain skills. A measurement has been given to every single one of us. Some of us, for example, have wealth above others. There's a specific measurement of wealth that has been given, specific measurement of knowledge that has been given, specific measurement of wisdom that has been given. And this is what distinguishes each and every one of us. Allah explains that we are the ones who give measurements to every single thing in creation. With regards to the night of power, what measurement are we speaking about? Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu wassalam beautifully explains. He says, Laylatul Qadr is the night in which Allah decrees everything that will take place from one year to the other. So in the forthcoming year, everything has been determined. Our fate is being written. Life and death, this is written for us, whether we will continue to exist or we will cease to exist in this world. Good and evil, certain bala, certain ni'amat that will come towards us, that has been written, whether in terms of our rizq, our health, children, lineage, and all of these different things. And then he finishes, or he completes the hadith by saying, and whatever he decrees is definitely, absolutely surety. It will most definitely take place. That's the first meaning of Al-Qadr. That our provisions, that our life, our death, our challenges, every single thing has been determined by its exact measure by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second meaning of Al-Qadr, Al-Qadr literally means something which has become narrow, something which becomes tight. When you have, for example, hundreds of people in this room, in this hall becomes small, it becomes narrow because of the amount of people that are within it. When something becomes narrow, you would refer to it as Al-Qadr. What's interesting and beautiful is that on the night of Qadr, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا, the angels descend on the earth. And the angels that descend on the earth are so much that they fill the capacity of the earth. It's as if the earth has become claustrophobic. That's the meaning that's been presented. It's a night of honor, a night of glory. The angels span throughout the entire world. As if the world becomes constrained, as if the world becomes compact. The second verse, وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. You see this phrase alone, وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ, is something that has been used many a times throughout the Holy Quran. In the Holy Quran, for example, when Allah uses this particular phrase, وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ, it's always in reference to what will happen in the hereafter, to the day of judgment, the fires of hell. That's when Allah uses وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ, this phrase وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ. So for example, وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا الْحَقَّ وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الْفَضْلِ وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا السَّقْرِ. These are the different types and characteristics of the Day of Judgment. Allah rhetorically is speaking about the Day of Judgment, something that is unfathomable, something that the human mind can never understand and appreciate. This is with regards to the Day of Judgment, something that does not exist in this world. But when it comes to Laylatul Qadr, Allah uses the same terminology. explaining to us that our minds will never be able to understand the profundity of this night alone. We can never understand and comprehend its true significance. It's very difficult for us to understand it because our minds are absolutely limited. And so when you refer to the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, there's a beautiful concept that's being spoken of by the ulama as well. Which night is the night of Qadr? You have, for example, narrations explaining to us that it's perhaps the 21st night, the 23rd night, perhaps even the 19th night. Which night? We don't know. It's left ambiguous for us. The Ahlul Bayt, they know exactly which night it is. Why? تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. They can see the malaika coming down from the heavens, as according to some of the narrations of Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. But the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam kept this a secret from their followers. Why? Because they knew that if they were to determine that 23rd is the night of Qadr, then we would be lazy up to the night of Qadr. We would be sluggish in our ibadat. So they separated the nights of Qadr. It could potentially be on the 21st, it could be potentially on the 19th, and potentially on the 23rd, to keep us on our toes. And then he turns to Ali ibn Abu Hamza al-Thumali, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and he says to him, on the 21st night, as well as the 23rd night, stay up during the night, engage in salah. Shahru Ramadan, Shahrul Qiyam, it's the month of prayers. He says, stay up as much as you can and engage in salah. Ali ibn Abu Hamza al-Thumali, he says, Yabna Rasulullah, what if a person doesn't have the energy to stand and pray? He says, sit and pray. He says, what if the person cannot sit and pray? He says, lie in your bed and pray as much as you can. 100 raka'at as it has been mentioned within the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Whosoever stays up during the night of Qadr, you find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows him to elevate more towards him. It's the night of Sharaf, Laylatul Sharaf, Laylatul Qadr, Laylatul Sharaf. And whosoever engages in ibadah in such a night, Sharaf naturally enters in his characteristics and personality. Laylatul Azama, this person, he can taste the Azama of such a night. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The night of Qadr, of course, is the night in which God's final message was revealed to humanity. It is a tool of perfection which will continue until the day of judgment. The deeds, the good deeds that we, inshallah, if Allah gives us the tawfiq that we engage in on the night of Qadr, you find that the effects of it are multiplied. Our supplications are accepted. Yes, supplications outside of Laylatul Qadr within the month of Ramadan, وَدُعَاءُكُمْ مُسْتَجَابٌ, are accepted. But more so in the night of Qadr, as long as it is halal and it does not, for example, we don't seek or we don't ask Allah to violate the laws of others and so on and so forth, to be oppressive of others. As long as our needs and our hajats are halal, they are most definitely accepted. Our sins are forgiven, our prayers are accepted, our charities are forgiven, accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on and so forth. The deeds performed in the night of Qadr are far greater than the deeds performed over a span of 1,000 months. خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ. Allah doesn't say the night of Qadr is equivalent to 1,000 months. He's saying it is better than 1,000 months. It is better than 80 years of worship. Allah increases for each and every one of us the good deeds for the sake of our love. This is a representation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. And of course, this is a true gift upon us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's one interesting hadith of the Holy Prophet of Islam. He says, surely Allah has bestowed on my community the night of honor, the night of power. And this was not something that existed before the time of the Holy Prophet. This is an honor that is exclusive for the Prophet and his ummah. And this was not an honor that was given to the prophets that came before him and the civilizations and the nations that came before him. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to engage and enhance our ibadah on the night of Qadr. Insha'Allah. A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. Wa ma adraka ma Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. Tanazzal al-malaikatu war-ruhu fiha bi'idni rabbihim min kulli amr. Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد جاء من عنده مصدقا للمرسلين خلف فينا راية الحق عليا وأولاده المعصومين هجج الله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Elders, brothers and sisters, today is the 17th of Ramadan, and the 17th of Ramadan corresponds to the Battle of Badr. Historically, the Battle of Badr took place on this day. Automatically a question arises to one's mind, did they fast and fight in the Battle of Badr? No, the prescriptions of fasting came during the time of the Battle of Khandak, and it did not come during the Battle of Badr. When we refer to the Battle of Badr, interestingly, there's a lot of messages and lessons that we can learn from it. One of the most profound lessons that we can learn from it is that during our life in this world, there are challenges that we go through. There are good times and there are bad times. But when we go through these challenges and these so-called hard times, we should always refer back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like the companions of the Prophet did during the Battle of Badr, when they were outnumbered, when their equipment was much inferior than the equipments of the mushrikeen. They were scared, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala solidified their hearts, made it, strengthened them from within, and of course provided them with spiritual help on that day. It's a vital lesson for us to always refer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just in our harsh times, but during times of ease as well. To always have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to seek His help in times of need and in times of ease as well. Going back to our discussions surrounding the ahkam of siyam or ahkam as-sawm, a question was raised very recently with regards to imsak. What exactly is imsak? Can I eat in this time of imsak? MashaAllah, in Leicester we have a 20-minute imsak period before the time of Fajr. In this time, can I eat and drink? What is the difference between imsak and the time of Fajr itself? The ayah of the Quran, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيِّنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَبْيَضِ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ. Eat and drink until you can recognize the white thread, the white line and the horizon from the darkness. This is an indication of Fajr. So in the calendars, or for example in the timetables, when we see the time of Fajr, that is the time of Fajr. With regards to imsak, yes, a person can eat and drink until the final minute of the time of Fajr. But to go deeper into this discussion, in the olden days, in the ancient times, how did the people decipher or understand what time the prayers were? Today we have everything is automated for us. We have algorithms predicting or even telling us to the exact precise second what time Dhuhr and Fajr and Maghrib and Isha are. But how did the ancient civilizations go about finding out the times of Salah? Well, if you look at Dhuhr, they would take a pillar, or they would, for example, take a stick and they would place it under the sun. And they would measure the shadow of this stick or this pillar or whatever it was, and they would be able to understand it's now the time for Dhuhr, it's now the time for Asr. Likewise, when it comes to Maghrib, they would look at, for example, the horizon when the sun is now setting. The redness of the horizon would indicate it's the time of Maghrib. And of course, when there is total darkness, it would tell them that it's the time for Isha. When it comes to Fajr, Fajr is even more difficult. It's far more difficult compared to the other salawat. Even today, in this day and age, the time for Fajr is very, very difficult to try and understand what time it is. With regards to Fajr, you'll find that throughout the night, it's dark. Towards the time of Fajr, there's a vertical ray of light that emanates, white light. This is known as Fajr al-Kadhib, the false Fajr. 10-15 minutes later, there is a white line, horizontal, that appears in the horizon. This is known as Fajr al-Sadiq. When this white line appears in the horizon, it is now officially the time of Fajr. And this white line, basically, it separates the heavens from the earth, the skies from the earth, and it breaks the darkness of the night. Now, the scholars, of course, according to the riwayat of the Ahlul Bayt, they say that when this white horizontal line is seen, now officially it is the time for Fajr. If you're living, for example, in a city nowadays, metropolitan city, because of light pollution and everything, it's very difficult to see this white thread in the horizon. Absolutely difficult. Now, because in itself it's very difficult to understand what the white thread is and how it looks and how it appears, the ulama explain that this particular time is a time of ambiguity. It's not clear for us. In the olden times, the mu'adhin, he would be very skilled in this particular science. So when he sees the white thread in the horizon, he would then naturally give the adhan. But our scholars say, because this time is so ambiguous, that when it comes to Salat al-Fajr, a person should delay his Salat al-Fajr from the time of Adhan al-Fajr. So if, say, for example, the Adhan of Fajr is at 3:32, then a person should delay his Salah 10-15 minutes to have certainty that he has now entered the time of Fajr. So if Fajr is at 3:32, it doesn't mean that I start reciting my Salah at 3:33. Let me delay it for 10-15 minutes. I remember in my time in Najaf, in Masjid al-Hindi, one of the most profound, famous, mashhur masajid, which is adjacent towards the Haram of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. The Imam of Jama'ah for Fajr would always start his Fajr 10-15 minutes later from the time of Adhan al-Fajr. So as a precaution, the ulama say one should delay his salah by 10-15 minutes. Because again, the time is ambiguous. We're not sure. We don't have 100% certainty that it's the time of Fajr. Likewise, when it comes to fasting, because the time of Fajr is very, very ambiguous, we should stop eating and drinking and performing all of the different things that invalidate our fast just by a few minutes, not 20 minutes, a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes is sufficient. A person should stop eating and drink. Again, this is based on precaution. It's not wajib. If you have, for example, certainty that 3:32, as it has been written in the calendar, is the time of Fajr, then you go ahead. If you have trust in the algorithms and the specifications of different programs and so on and so forth, then you have every right to begin your fast at the time of 3:32. But it's better to start just a couple of minutes before. Again, here, there's a lot of disagreements, there's a lot of debates, even amongst the people who are experts in the field, to pinpoint what time the time of Fajr is, even today, with bearing in mind the different technology that we have access to as well. So it's always better, as precaution, mustahab, to stop eating and drinking just a few minutes before the time of Fajr. Quickly, second mas'ala that I would wish to go through, fasting for a person who is sick. What is the ruling with regards to this? Can I fast whilst I am sick? You'll find, for example, some people will say, well, I am sick, and if I fast, I will put myself under more strenuous, I'll challenge myself, and because I'll challenge myself more, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward me more. The ayah of the Holy Quran is very clear. If you are sick, you should not be fasting. In fact, if a person chooses to fast whilst he is sick, 3 things. Number 1, his fast is invalid. Allah does not accept it, which means that later on you will have to perform qada. Number 2, it goes against the ayah of the Holy Quran. Inna yurid Allahu bikum al-yusr wala yuridu bikum al-usr. Allah wants ease for you. Allah does not want you to go through difficulty. So you will be violating the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For you to say and believe that I will fast and I am sick and Allah will accept it, this goes against the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, the fast itself is invalid. So not only is the fast invalid, the person commits a sin, and then a person has to perform qada afterwards as well. Of course, there are certain sicknesses which are not impacted by fasting. If I have knee pain or back pain, for example, and I fast, there's no correlation between me staying hungry and thirsty throughout the day on these different ailments that I have. Weakness that is brought by fasting, when I become tired, when I become sick, when I become tired or when I become weak, this is perfectly normal. This is not an indication of whether a person is sick or not. We are meant to go through hunger. We are meant to go through certain levels of thirst and so on and so forth. But if my condition becomes unbearable, it brings about certain types of sicknesses. For example, it's damaging to my health is deteriorating. Migraines, for example, my circumstances will become worse off. My sickness will become worse off. I need medicine to function as a normal human being. I have to break my fast. This type of a fast is not acceptable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A question arises, do I need the doctor's opinion? Sometimes referring to the doctor can help me make a decision myself. Yes, you can refer to a doctor, you can abide by his opinions, there's no issue in that whatsoever. But you are your own doctor, as the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam have explained. Sometimes you'll visit the doctor will say that according to their opinion, it is better that you do not fast. But you yourself know that staying away from food and drink will not cause significant harm to you. You go through certain periods of problems like fatigue and weakness and so on and so forth, but that's natural for each and every one of us. You yourself, you know better than the doctor knows your own health. Sometimes the doctor will say, yes, go ahead and fast. There's no issue in you fasting, but you yourself know that if you will fast, it will cause detrimental harm to your own body. So yes, the doctor's opinion is worthy, it can be taken into consideration, but it's not the standard of whether you should fast or no. Even if you know and you have probability that you will become sick, you're 60% sure that you will become sick, that's sufficient for you to not fast. You don't need to have absolute conviction. You don't need to say to yourself, I am 100% sure that I will become sick. No, even if you're 60% sure that you will become sick by fasting, that's sufficient for you to not fast. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على عبدك ورسولك سيد المرسلين ورسول رب العالمين محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله. وعلى علي أمير المؤمنين ووسي رسول رب العالمين علي المرتضى. وعلى سيدة النساء العالمين وبذعة الخاتم النبيين فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام. وعلى سيد شباب أهل الجنة الحسن المجتبى والحسين سيد الشهداء عليه السلام. وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن قائم المنتظر المهدي. أرواحنا وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. اللهم افتح له فتحا يسيرا وانصره نصرا عزيزا. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة في سبيلك وترزقنا بها الكرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.